Oh, hi YouTube. Didn't know I was live yet. I didn't get my TikTok going yet. Okay. I'm just waiting for my TikTok audience and getting set up for notes for VO ideas, because people always give me ideas when I do a live. Okay. Hello. Oh, you're new, aren't you? Polly Packet. I don't recognize that name. And I never know user numbers, so you can change your name, you know. That user is just a default from M. Hi, M. You've been here lots. Jess, Bella, Bree, you've been here lots. Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up before I get going. In the meantime, I'd love to hear where you're from. And I'd also love if you're new, I would love it if you just put a comment there and said new. I'm always interested to hear how many new people turn up. Most people on here are regulars, but I'm always interested if I get new people. I can always tell when someone's new if they ask me about Timeout. I hate Timeout, I can't stand it. So, because pretty much every single live that comes up. Okay, so I'm just waiting to hear, just wait till a few people turn up before we get going. So I'm just wondering where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. A little bit overcast sort of today, but still warm. It's been muggy lately. So I think it rained last night. I think that was why it was so muggy. But anyway, where are you from? And if you're new, I'd love it if you'd type that in. I'm just curious. Okay, I'm also filming my lives on YouTube, so that's where they're saved if you're interested. Okay, so where are you from? Charlotte, North Carolina. Hi, Charlotte, North Carolina. Such a pretty sounding city, isn't it, Charlotte? Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia. I can't pick where that is. Where is Atlanta, Georgia? I'll look that up later. Iowa. Hi. Oh, you've been here before, Tori. Iowa. One time I was doing a live and I had Iowa, Ohio, and Idaho all in a row. Okay, so it's a public holiday here, and I go to a cafe every morning after the gym early, and so this the cleaning lady, I see her there all the time, and she WA Washington here. Hello, and so anyway, she said to me, "It's a public holiday. Are you working?" And I thought, yeah, I can't. I don't function very well if I do something 5 days a week. I have to do it 7 days a week. So my morning schedule, I have to do 7 days a week. So what I do in the cafe every morning is I set my daily schedule. Do I follow it? Not always, but I like to plan out my day every single morning at the gym. I'm very into routines and schedules and habits. I don't operate without them. So, but I can't do it like 5 days a week. It has to be every day. Okay, so Wisconsin here. Hi, Wisconsin. Okay, let's get going. If you go on the link above, the Bratbusters link above, it's everything that I've got to offer is up there. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board that starts at the age of 3. You're on there too. That's what makes it work, because you got to be accountable for your kids. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. Tell you what, the old-fashioned authority, it was a one-way street. I'm in charge. I'm the parent. The new-fashioned please your parent style is more the kids are in charge. That's a one-way street too. I'm not. It's a two-way street. You give respect to get it. I've never said it like that before. That's a good way of putting it. Two-way street. Give respect to get it. I've said that. I always say that. I like that. Two-way street. Sometimes I get better at coming up with ways of saying things. Okay. Do you have a podcast? Why did you ask me that? I just had a meeting with someone about starting a podcast. That is too weird. That is too weird. I do get asked about it every day though. So anyway, just funny that I just got off the Zoom with this guy. So yeah, I might start a podcast. I don't know. It just depends, you know. I can't spread myself too thin. So I think I am going to have to hire someone soon. And then I would probably put them in charge of sorting that out. Okay. How do I prepare for my 2-year-old clinger for the arrival of a new baby? You don't. You just can't. How on earth can you prepare a 2-year-old for a new baby coming out? How? I can't fathom how you would prepare them. Now, the funny thing is, I see this sometimes. I'll look at pictures of families in the hospital room, and it's cute. Like we just welcomed a new baby, and you got the little toddler holding the new little sister, and you go, "Oh, you're going to be such a big, look at the big brother. He's going to be so loving." A week after they're home, they're chucking that baby on the floor. Like they just don't get it. How could they possibly comprehend how their life is going to change? You can't. You can't. There's a lot of stuff you just can't do with toddlers. You just got to ride the wave. They're going to be jealous, and they might not. Some of them don't care, but a lot of them do. I'll tell you a kind of a funny story, but not really, I guess. When you hear it, you go, "That was your funny story?" Anyway, it's not funny at all, actually. So I had a friend, and we got together because we met in a play group, and then we sort of, you know how you sort of peel off and you get your own little friendships as the kids grow up, because this was a baby play group. And then our little boys were 2 years old, and they were both very gentle, passive boys. They would never hit or anything. Both our little boys, they were 2 years old. She had a brand new little baby. And a few days after she got this baby home, I was over there, and she was saying, she goes, "Can you believe her little boy, her 2-year-old, had gone in the bassinet, picked out the newborn, and threw her on the floor." He was like, "Yeah, I've had enough of this." And he was a very passive, gentle little boy. They have no concept of concussions and death. And like he just thought it was like a doll he was just going to get rid of, because it screamed and smelled and took his parents away from him. So yeah, you can't really explain that to a 2-year-old. Advice for managing a 2-year-old screaming when told no or has to wait for something. So that's on them. That's not on you. Just let them scream it out, but do not give it to them. If they keep screaming, say no, and then you withhold it until they calm down. Will that work? Probably not. What you do is you just get slower and slower, and you say no, and then you try to interrupt that screaming, because it's not a tantrum. You always ignore tantrums. Try to interrupt and say no, and then you wait till they calm down. It might just be a split second, and then you hand them that thing. But yeah, would I even hand it to them? I'm not so sure. It depends on the situation. Announcement, I'm doing a podcast. I maybe will. I just got off a meeting with someone about starting one. Maybe down the road. It's one more thing on my plate. I got a lot of stuff on my plate right now. So anyway, we'll see. I would like to do a podcast, but it's like anything. You get a few people saying, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" And then no one turns up. So you know what I mean? Like I got to make sure there is an audience out there for me. So I probably will do some, I would like to hire someone to do some looking into that, see if I could transfer, the following I have here. And Instagram's doing quite well too now. So see if that would transfer over if people are that interested. It's not worth my time if they aren't, because it would have to be a lot of money and time put into that. So is it worth it? Is there going to be enough listeners that it makes it worth my time? I don't know. I'd have to figure that out, do some research first, I think. Anyway, I'll look into that. Okay. Siblings fighting and hitting each other. Yeah, really normal. I don't know how old they are, though. You have to tell me the age. Are they toddlers or teenagers? Night terrors. Night terrors are something, I don't really know what they are. No one's really given me a great, like I've asked, some of my clients are child psychologists, and I'll ask them about that. And they'll say, well, are they just nightmares, or does something wake them up? It's usually something wakes them up, evidently, like they're light sleepers. That's what this one child psychologist told me, that usually happens when they're light sleepers, but that doesn't make any sense to me. You would think the heavier sleepers would do that. Just a sec. I don't know, I'm rambling on. So what I suggest you do is you get one of those white noise machines. The one that my clients have told me works the best is the one that sounds like the womb. It's extremely loud. When I heard it, I said, they played it for me. It is so loud. It sounds like you're in like underwater, and there's the tunnel, like there's scuba equipment breathing the oxygen tanks or something. It is real, because I guess that's the womb, right? Oh, actually, yeah, that's the womb. Didn't connect that up. I'm not very bright. Anyway, but yeah, it's really, really noisy. So they get used to hearing that, and it would lull them back to sleep. That's what they've told me with night terrors. That seems to work. Because whenever I recommend that, they say, yeah, that worked really well. Okay, is the cold turkey method the best for getting toddler off baby? It's pretty much best for everything. It's like I quit smoking years ago, and I remember I thought, this is like 30, 40 years ago. Anyway, and I thought, yeah, I'll just cut down. That never worked. To go cold turkey. But yeah, I'll tell you what I did with my son. He had the binky, or we called it dummy in Australia, the dummies. And we had gone on a big overseas trip, so I didn't take them away until we got home, because that's like a big 24-hour flight from Australia, where we live, to Canada. And I thought, there's no way I'm taking that dummy away from him on an airplane, and because I wanted it for his ears popping, right? Anyway, we get home and we both had jet lag, my son and I. My husband went off to work, and I thought, that's it. I'm getting rid of the dummies, and we were jet lagged, and I'm just going to do it. I had my 1.5-year-old son help me put all of the dummies into a little Ziploc bag, and he held them, and we put them out. We went around the garage, opened up the big wheelie bin, and I said, now they're all gone. You're a big boy. You're not going to have dummies anymore. And I said, pop them in the bin. And he let go, and he knew when Mom said something, it was going to happen. If Dad had done that, he might have cried for them. Anyway, and we closed the bin, and then I was like this. I thought, oh God, I'm jet lagged, and I'm going to have and he had tantrums too. My daughter never did. He did. And I thought, oh my God, what have I set myself up for? Jet lag and tantrums, because he's not getting the dummy. He never asked once for a dummy. Every so often he'd go like this, and then he'd look over at me, and I would go, oops, and I'd just look away. I'm not getting any eye contact when he's thinking about a dummy. He never asked once. Now, I think a lot of that was luck. But also, he already knew. He was 1.5. He knew when Mom says something, it's going to happen. So he kind of knew. But he's still, I was shocked at that. I don't know why. Didn't try and figure it out. I was just like, thank you. So yeah, cold turkey. And that's what I did with my daughter, getting her off the boob, because I hated breastfeeding. I just hate, because I hate feeling I'm hyperactive, and it was hard for me to sit. Once I'm sitting, I enjoyed it. But just thought, oh, I'm going to be trapped for like 10. My kids were really fast feeders. So they were like 2 to 3 minutes on each side. But my daughter liked to lull. She loved the cuddling, and she, God, I could have sat there for hours with her. But anyway, my son weaned himself at 10 months old, because he just wanted to look around, and he used to take me with him. So I gave him the bottle. Both of us were happier. So at 10 months old, he weaned himself. My daughter, I thought, as soon as she's up on her feet and walking well, she must have heard me, because she didn't get up on her feet till she was 14 months old. So I think she heard me, and she did not want to get off the boob. Anyway, as soon as she got up and she was walking around, I wore my clothes differently so they weren't accessible, and I handed her over to her dad a lot more. And I just said, no more, they're all gone, and I'd give her a sippy cup with something, milk or whatever. So yeah, that was it. Cold turkey. There's no night feeds or anything. It was just, that's it, you're done. Isn't that kind of like that with everything? What is it good to wean yourself off slowly? Yeah, what would be good? I mean, everything's kind of better done, like take off a Band-Aid, get it over with, isn't it? I'm sure there's some exceptions. I just can't think of any. Okay. How to help a 3-year-old with anger? Her body gets so tense and screams. When you're a leader, when you're a calm leader, and they're all upset and you're calm and you're not reacting to that, that is how you help them, because they're not listening to you, they're watching you. So they see a calm leader, like you don't react to that stuff, doesn't bother you at all, they'll just eventually stop doing it. It's just the way it goes. When they're up against a calm, like if I had acted like that, I never had a tantrum, but if I had, this would have been my mother. I would have been embarrassed. That's why I never had tantrums. I would have been embarrassed. Like my mother just would have gone, what are you doing? Like as if I was nuts. And that's kind of what I did with my kids. It's like, you think that's going to work with me? So yeah, I never gave that I would never give that any attention whatsoever. How do I not react? Okay, your anxiety. That's something that happens all the time. Parents will say, what do I do? And then they'll say to me, but how do I'll tell them what to do. And they'd say, but how do I do it when I can't do it? And I say, well, you just have to force yourself. That's why when I'm coaching people, it's 1 rule per week. On the behavior board, it's 1 rule per week. You start small. You can react to all these millions of things, but if there's one behavior you want to correct, just don't react to that one behavior. Start small. Start with 1 rule. Okay, use the behavior board. It's free on my website or up above in the link. It's free up there. Or you can buy my course between 3 and 12-year-olds. It teaches you how to give respect to get it. Teaches you like in a bigger picture, all this stuff. If you want the next level, you have to hire me for help. But your anxiety is something that will lessen as you get better at this. But it's like I used to teach fitness. And so people would say, yeah, I know how to do it, but how do I get myself to the gym? And I'm like, how can I help you with that? Like, you want me to go to your house and pick you up in the morning? Like, at some point you just have to make a decision to dive in. And like I said, you pick one rule per week. That's how you start small and dive in with that one behavior. Do not try and address them all. I would. If I turned up at your house, I'd deal with everything in one day. Absolutely 100%. I wouldn't let anything go, but you have to. You only pick one thing you're gonna focus on. And then your anxiety, you'll get more confidence. That's what happens. If you look at that course, it's laid out in 5 weeks. The first 3 weeks are behavior boards, one rule per week. So but at the end of third week, you've got 3 rules you're dealing with. So you got some confidence. You got some parenting tools in your tool belt at this point. Week 4 is what everyone wants. That's that in the moment discipline. You're not letting anything go. And you address everything right in the moment. There's no behavior board for all this other stuff. So yeah. But you learn how to do this. You got to learn how to be a leader. Your anxiety will lessen when you get good at this. But at some point, you just have to dive in, knowing it's going to be hard. But nothing great is worth it. Like everything great's hard work, right? It is hard work. You got to earn it. You got to work for this. Kids are not going to hand you on a silver platter their respect. You got to earn that. You got to work for that. It's worth it though. Earning respect, getting respect is hard work. Maintaining it's a piece of cake. I got respect when my kids were tiny, so I sailed right through the teen years. But what about when he's sassy towards his little sister just because he knows he'll get attention? Well, I don't know what you mean by sassy. Like, what do you mean? Is he hitting her? Or yeah. I would probably, if he's being sassy to the little sister, I would pick the little sister up. I'd give her extra attention. Oh, is he being mean to you? Come on, we'll go and do something. I reward the good in that situation. Like I reward the good kid and the bad kid, leave him out, but you got to do it very carefully. Like you don't do it, no, you can't play. You don't do it like that. You just pick the little girl up or whatever and say, oh, what are we doing? Give her a little bit of attention. You can't go overboard with that. That's a fine line thing. It's a fine line between being nasty and kind of witchy. I don't want to say that word, but there's a fine line there. It can almost go into the bullying. And, but you got to do it very carefully. You got to do it with kindness, if that makes any sense. Oops, sugar. Every so often I'll hit the screen wrong and something. Okay, if you're on YouTube, I got a couple people on there. My audience is on TikTok. That's why you only see the side of my face, but I film these on YouTube. I save them on YouTube, these lives. I yelled at them. Oh, okay, then you felt like a bad bum. I would say about 99% of my clients yell. It's very rare that I will get 2 parents in a Zoom call that's saying, no, we don't yell. Neither of them yells. I've had that a couple times this year. It's that rare. Most parents yell. You just yell because you don't know what else to do. It backfires down the road. You know that. It's a short-term solution, but it backfires big time. That builds resentment. And you already know that. You don't want to yell, but you just don't know what else to do. That's all I teach you is what else to do. Like I was never yelled at, not once, not ever. My parents never yelled. And my ex-husband and I, we weren't yellers. That talking toddler, ignore it. You never address attitude, never. And toddlers are just crazy. They don't make any sense. They're going to go through stages. Just ignore it. If they're being sassy, just ignore it. But if they're 3 years old and over it and they're name calling or swearing or anything, you put that on the behavior board. But anything else, just snot. It's sort of a sign that you're not a leader. They don't tend to sass or backtalk a leader. They just don't. It'd be embarrassing. They'd be embarrassed to do that. So yeah. Like if my kids had sassed me, I would have just gone, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, they would, oh, sorry, mom. Like it just, because we had such mutual respect going, they wouldn't have done that. So work on your leadership skills and no one will have to yell or backtalk or sass. We don't yell, it's hard. The thing is, you don't just not yell. You got to replace it with other stuff. You replace it with leadership. The children have to understand accountability. And we all do. Consequences are how we learn that. We don't learn about, this is such a big speech, but I'm going to have to go on a little bit. We don't learn to be accountable through lectures. Like I know the please your parent style right now is all about talking about big feelings and how you hurt my feelings. And It's just a bunch of garbage. They learn through actions. They learn through consequences. They learn to be accountable by, you know what, if I do that, this might happen. That's why we pay our rent, because we might get kicked out. That's why we make car payments, because we might have it confiscated. That's why we don't speed down the freeway all the time, because we know we might get a ticket, right? We all learn accountability through consequences. So that's how you teach children, through consequences. So it's not a matter of lecturing them. It's just ridiculous. You shouldn't have done that. It hurt my feelings, and they're like, yeah, whatever. They're not listening to you at all. So you shouldn't have done that. The consequence is 24-hour media blackout. You don't do that first. That's a secondary consequence. But yeah, it's just, well, you shouldn't have done that. The consequence is this. Okay, do you understand? It's consequences. They learn that. My kids were accountable from a really tiny age. They just understand that. I always said to them, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that, because I'm your mom and that's my job. So they understood it's all your choice. I used to say this. My son hated hearing that. Said, it's your choice how your life goes. It's all up to you. It's your choice. Okay. How can I make my children resilient and best? Oh, this is what I teach. You want resilient, strong children with high self-esteem. That's what this leadership is all about. Because when I'm dealing with kids, my own or other kids, I don't care how they think, how they feel about me. I care how they feel about themselves. I want them to feel great about themselves, because they're making good choices. Okay? They make good choices. They feel great about themselves. I like them. They like themselves. They have high self-esteem. Well, if I'm the source of that, how do you think they're going to treat me? Golden. Why wouldn't they? If someone brought out the best in you and made you feel good about yourself, and you have high self-esteem, and they're the source of that, wouldn't you just follow them anywhere? Like, think about it. That's leadership. That's what I teach here. That's all I teach is leadership. It's about how your kids feel about themselves. I have never once ever seen a kid back-talking a parent with high self-esteem. Their self-esteem is always in the toilet. So leadership, you're not being kind to your children if you're not a leader. Kindness is leadership. You want to guide them into making good choices. Their self-esteem goes up. They like themselves. You're the source of that. They want to please you. When they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. The old-fashioned, there's two very distinct styles of parenting that I'm going to exaggerate all this. But the old-fashioned authority, my way or the highway, I'm your parent, you do what I say because I'm your parent. Okay, that's the old-fashioned way. Wasn't too bad in that the kids turned out pretty good. They're resilient. They went through some resentment in the teen years, but then they came out the other end and said, thanks for being tough on me. I appreciated it. The new style that's so trendy right now, anyway, it's the pleaser parent style. It's that one, participation awards. And, it's just this constantly rolling out the red carpet and you're raising these self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That's where you're headed with that style. It's just ridiculous. Those kids never appreciate you. They wipe their feet all over you right through the teen years, and they are in charge and they know it. They feel lost. They feel lost. So if you're going to err on either side, the authority by far is a stronger way to parent. The other way, that trendy way that's so popular right now, is just garbage. It's garbage. I teach leadership. It's very different from both. It's you give respect to get it, because I'm accountable too. If I messed up, my kids instantly would look at each other like this, because they knew. I'd go, oh, shoot, I messed up. Okay, what do you want? And then they'd say something like, we'd love to go to the water slide park after school, so I'd go there. I'd have to take them there because I messed up. You're teaching them by example. Where do I sign up for that? Everything I've got to offer is in the link above, bratbusters.linktree. It's all in the link above there. Ethiopia, you always help parents. You're very welcome. Ethiopia. I can't pronounce your name. I don't know what that is. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know any other languages. I can barely handle English, so. Okay. How do I stop yelling? My boys don't listen when I tell them to do things the first time I ask. Well, I never repeat myself. I make sure if I'm asking a kid to do something, I'm going to follow it up with an action if they don't. I'm ready for it. Not with my own kids because they were pretty easy, but if I was working with kids and I knew if I asked them something once that they needed to do, and my requests were fair and reasonable. That's a big part of it too. Are you meeting their needs and managing their wants? Are your requests fair and reasonable? That's a big part of it. Anyway, so if I asked a kid to do something once and he said no, I'd say fine, blah, 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 and then I'd have an action. There'd be an action. I'd take charge. I don't ask twice. There's no way. Just makes you look weak. And can you please do? I would never do that. No. I'll probably end up telling the pool story. I tell it pretty much every live. It just encapsulates everything. What do you mean by action? Okay, I'm going to tell the pool story. My son was 8 years old. I'm going to try and tell it differently because I say it every day, so I can't hear myself anymore when I'm saying it. So, because I repeat it every day. Okay, so pool story, true story. My son was 8 years old and he had a birthday. It was his 8th birthday party. And we had a pool. So it was me and 6 8-year-old boys. You can just imagine, they're all hyped up. So anyway, I said, okay, it's just me watching you. I'm counting heads. That's all I'm doing. I'm counting heads the whole time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm a safety net, right? So all I'm doing is counting heads. And I said, Whaley, this big, gigantic blow-up pool toy that we have, we didn't have a foot pump or a pump. We had to blow it up by just ourselves. So I did not want to take the air out of him. So I said, Whaley does not go in the pool because I can't see behind him and I could lose 3 kids in the pool behind Whaley. Oh, okay, fine. They're all in the pool. They're all loud. Sure enough, one of the kids pulls Whaley in the pool. I said, Whaley out of the pool now. He said to me, no. My son instantly went like this. He knows mom knows how to take care of business. He was looking forward to the show. Fully clothed, I was in the pool in a shot and dragged that 8-year-old kid out and I said, you're sitting beside me for 10 minutes now. And he's dripping wet, so I'm counting 5 kids in the pool and I'm talking to him. For 10 minutes, this is how I'm talking to him. I saw you play soccer the other day. You got a goal. That was great. That was fantastic. Your parents were so proud. We were all, excited for you. And you did really well on that test. I'd helped him in this test at school. I used to help out at school. And I said, and I helped you. You got really, on that test, you were doing great. And he's like sitting there all feeling great about himself. He's talk. And then I said, what PlayStation games do you like? And he's talking away, talking. 10 minutes is up. I said, okay, go back in the pool and have fun. Could not get rid of him. He was chatting with me, talking about himself, how great he is, chatting. Finally, I looked at my son and I said, oh, I guess you guys are going to have a basketball game now, eh? Because we have basketball hoops in the pools. And my son said, oh, right, okay. So I said, okay, you don't want to miss the basketball. Go in and have fun with them. And he finally went in. Couldn't get rid of him all afternoon. Lisa, can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? Good as gold. Couldn't get rid of him. Whaley never went back in the pool. Now, let me break that down for you. What had happened? This encapsulates leadership to me, the way I parent. It wasn't my kid, but this is the whole thing. And there's a lot of messages in that one story. The first message is 6 kids in the pool. I know what I'm doing. I'm counting heads. I'm very organized and I have boundaries. Whaley cannot go in the pool. I said it very clearly. I did not say, please. This is a safety thing. I did not say, please don't take Whaley in the pool. That sounds like a request, not a rule. So I said, Whaley does not go in the pool. I was very clear about that. And then I explained why. Because 3 kids could die behind him. Now, when that little boy had pulled Whaley in the pool, I did not say, can you please take Whaley out of the pool? I said, Whaley out of the pool now. It's a safety issue, right? When he said no to me, I took action right away. I'm fully clothed in the pool and I dragged him out right away. And then I was very clear. You sit beside me for 10 minutes. I would not say why. He's not stupid. I don't waste energy on negativity. I put all my energy into positive stuff. I deal with the negative. Okay, I dealt with it. Now it's over. Now I just said, you're going to sit with me for 10 minutes. I didn't say, now you need to sit with me for 10 minutes because you know you took Whaley in the pool. You just sound pathetic at that point. I'm a leader. Fewer words, the better. I said, you're sitting there for 10 minutes. Now, why did I not discuss Whaley? Why would I not do that? Because that's nasty. Like, that's mean, berating him for that. He already knows. Plus, it's in front of all these other boys. And at this point now, they're watching. Now, at this point, I just start talking about, I bring out the best in him. I am focusing on the good kid. The bad behavior was dealt with like that. I don't discuss it. Now I'm focused on the good kid, building him up, making him feel good. Now, what did that do in that situation? 10 minutes. Why did he not want to leave? I'm the leader. I'm trusted. He likes me. I'm his friend. He wants to play. I'm the leader. He gets it. He just gets it. Couldn't get rid of this kid all afternoon. Anyways, his mom came to pick him up and he was rotten as anything to her. She said, oh, how was he? And I said, good as gold. She's like, what? Yeah. Anyway, so that's leadership to me. You deal with the bad behavior like that, don't go on about it, they get it, okay? And then focus on the good kid. If you bring the best out in kids, you're gonna get the best. That's leadership to me. How did that kid feel about himself? It's not about how they feel about you, it's how they feel about themselves. How did he feel about himself? Great. Even though he was being punished, he felt great about it. See how I flipped it all around? I flipped all the energy around. All of it. It's all positive now. And he wasn't embarrassed. I didn't want to embarrass him, but I had to take action. It was a safety issue. No kid says no to me in that situation. Like, I take action. Now, what if he'd thrown a tantrum and not wanted to sit next to you? How do you react then? He's 8 years old, and he just, I don't know, they just didn't. I would have physically struggled to get him out of the pool. I would have had all the kids out of the pool. Yeah, I would have. But I already knew this kid, and I worked with him a lot at school. So he knew when I said something, it was going to happen. Okay. But does that make sense? You deal with the bad, but focus on the good. You deal with the bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. Bring it out in them. Sometimes you got to dig deep. I used to mentor troubled teens. I had to dig real deep. I had a really big shovel. I had to dig to try and find the good in them. Do you get that, though? What if I just focused on the bad behavior with the troubled teens I worked with? How do you think that would have gone? And another thing you do wrong is this and that. And if you do that again, you know what's going to happen. They wouldn't be listening. They couldn't wait to, they'd probably get a switchblade out or something. You know, like, you just don't do that. So anyway, does that make sense, though? Okay, if you want to learn all this, I do have a full course on that. If you have a 3 to 12-year-old, it explains all this, what leadership's all about, and how to get it. It's work. It's work. It's a 5-week course. It's work. You can slow it down by a week or two, but do not speed that up. You got to invest the 5 weeks minimum into this. It takes time. How do I talk to my adult child who is narcissistic? That's a very broad, unspecific question. I don't know. Okay. Brushing teeth on a 2-year-old. I got a million different ideas for 2-year-olds because they don't make any sense. Sometimes you just have to keep throwing mud at the wall and see what sticks. One thing that's worked recently with clients when I'm coaching is I'll say have one show that they love, they only see while they're getting their teeth brushed. So that show is only ever on while they're getting their teeth brushed. And they won't learn the first time, probably the first 3 or 4 times, but eventually they'll clue in. Because toddlers don't learn the first time, they learn, it's repetition with toddlers. So yeah, that show, and it goes off the second their teeth are finished. Even if they have a tantrum, okay, teeth are done, turn it off. If you let that show continue running, who's in charge? The 2-year-old is. They will eventually learn that that show's only ever on, or that song that they love, or whatever it is, it's only ever on while they're getting their teeth brushed. It's an association thing. Okay, help with a terrible 3-year-old who doesn't care about anything you say. Well, remember, we're never fixing kids, we're fixing parents. That just said, it's a tell for me. It says you're not a leader. So they're just reacting to your parenting. 100% of children's behavior is a direct result of your parenting. So you just got to work on your leadership skills. Remember, there's never anything wrong with kids. It's just they haven't had the leadership they needed. You're not meeting their needs and managing their wants. So yeah, you set yourself up as a leader and that just won't happen. You can start with my behavior board, or you can buy my course, the big one, that how to get respect in 5 weeks. I was gonna say 5 years, 5 weeks, or you can hire me for coaching. That's the next level up. But yeah, set yourself up they're just reflecting your parenting. That's all that is. By 3, not at 2, 2-year-olds are just crazy. But by 3, if you're a leader, they're kind of starting to sort themselves out, because they can start to reason. By the age of 3, that's when that kicks in. It's a gray area. Could be 2 years and 10 months. Might be 3, and usually by 3, they can start to reason things out. Not all the time, not every time, but they're starting to get it. And you're teaching them how to do it by having these rules and consequences. Well, I don't know what to say to this. He screams and cries if I say no, and will beg and beg and beg for whatever he wants. You've taught him to do that. There's no way. How old is he? Like there's no way, like my kids never asked, if I said no to something, they never would have asked for it again. Because they knew I would have gone, are you crazy? I already said no. Like it means you've taught them. That's a learned behavior. Begging is a learned behavior. It means in the past they've been able to break you down and they know it. So you're going to have to say, if they're 3 and over, say, I know I used to give in before. That was my bad. I was wrong. But from now on, when I say no, it's never going to be turned into a yes. That's what that means. That's what that says to me. It means your no can be turned into a yes, and they know it. That's why in the course, like the 5 weeks to get respect, in the course, it's broken down. It's paced out very specifically. I've been doing this for 17 years now, teaching people how to do this. It's paced out. You do not pick all your battles in one day. This is what parents do. That's it. I'm going to be a leader today, and they try and do everything in one day. You're going to tank. It doesn't work that way. You start with 1 rule per week. The rest of the stuff, just suffer through it. 1 rule per week. By the week 3, you have 3 rules that you're dealing with. 3 behavior boards, 3 rules. Okay? You're starting to get it now. The kids are starting to get it. That's when you go off the behavior boards and you do in the moment discipline. Weeks 4 and 5 are in the moment discipline. You don't need the behavior board. You might still have them going, but you're starting, it's just starting to shift. You're starting to get it. It takes that long. The kids pick up on this really quickly. Like if I went into your house and dealt with your kids, they would learn very quickly who's in charge, very fast. Because there's just no negotiating with me on that. If I say no to something, it's like, it's not happening. It just happens very quickly. You've got history of not being like that. And they remember that. Okay. So you can't just change overnight and expect them to react to you because they know you were a different parent before. The older you get, the older they get, the longer it's going to take to get that respect cemented. Oh, I want to tell this story. It's a funny one. A 2-year-old is terrified of any medical setting, goes into fight mode as soon as not much you can do about that. Not much you can do about that. It's like the teeth brushing, though. You could potentially just have a show or a song that they only get while they're doing it. Good luck with that, though. I can't see that working. Anyway, I got a funny story. It's more of a karma story. Years ago in Australia, where I raised my kids, they used to have these, they called them baby clinics. And they were just like, they were either freestanding in a building somewhere, and it was just a clinic. You'd go in, and they were basics. You'd go in, have your kid weighed, measured, and vaccinated. And that was pretty much it. And maybe, just some basic tips. And it was done by a nurse. And anyway, there was this one nurse, they used to call her Nurse Ratchet. She was nasty. She had a way of bullying all the moms, and they'd all go out of there crying. She was just a bully. Well, I heard about this, and I hate bullies. And I was a very confident mom. So my kid was about 2, probably closer to 1.5. Anyway, my son. So I took him in there to get him weighed and vaccinated and all that. So I took him in there, whatever age, I can't remember. And he didn't want to it was dumb because he didn't mind getting vaccinated, but he would not get measured for height. He just wouldn't do it. So he goes on the ground, and it wasn't even he had tantrums. This wasn't even a big one. So he throws himself on the ground when she tried to measure his height. And she said to me, because I was waiting for it, because I hate bullies. And anyway, she said to me, she goes, is he always like this? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, the way he's acting. She goes, have you had him assessed? And she picked the wrong mom to do that too. And I said, why? And she goes, well, there might be some mental development delay issues or something. I mean, she literally went there. And I said to her, by the way, this tantrum's nothing. You should see him when he really gets going. And I said, you picked the wrong mother. I'm going to report you. She instantly started almost crying. Oh, I didn't mean that. I'm sure he's not retarded. I mean, she was just an idiot. She kept going on. I reported her. She got fired after that. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. There was a whole bunch of reports about her, and she was just awful. Just a horrible, horrible bully person. And she was this baby nurse. Isn't that unbelievable? Anyway, I got her fired. Boy, was I happy about that. So all the other moms, they just about put me on their shoulders and rock me around the area. Anyway, she was not in a very good position, but she didn't know who she was dealing with. Because I pretended I was like all looking up to her and everything. As soon as she said that, she could just see the shift in the room. It's funny. Okay. Oh, vaccinations. I can't talk about that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Who knows? It's one of those things. You can. It's called confirmation bias. You can find studies to prove pretty much anything, whether vaccines are good, whether they're bad. Yeah, confirmation bias. It's one of those things. If something is that highly debated, then it's not a black and white issue. It can't be. That must be gray. It's like religions. People actually argue about religions. Like, why? It's a gray area. There's no black and white. This is the only way it is, and that's the. So it's kind of like that with vaccines. I chose to vaccinate my kids. Was it the right thing to do? I don't know. I'm a gluten-free health food vegan. The only thing I'm confident about in there is the health food part. Like, you won't see me eating any packaged foods or anything. So, but I'm a gluten-free. Is that good? I don't know. Is being vegan good? I don't know. I don't preach it. It just works for me. I feel great. It just works for me. So it's like that, right? You get it? You can argue that till the cows come home, and there'll never be a winner. There'll just be different sides. But yeah, I never argue anything that I don't know a lot about. And I'm not a doctor, and so yeah. But talk to me about timeout, and I'll argue that forever. I hate timeout. Okay. Okay, my 4-year-old keeps getting kicked out of daycare because of his behavior. I'm worried about him starting school. You're going to hate my answer. I'm going to rephrase that. My 4-year-old keeps getting kicked out of daycare because I'm not a leader for him. I'm worried about how he started school. It's all about you, okay? Their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. Their basic nature and basic personality they're born with, but their behavior, their actions, their words, that is on you, 100%. At 4 years old, 100%. When they're teenagers, they can go off rogue a little bit, but not at 4 years old. That's on you. So that's good news. It means you just work on yourself, and that will sort itself out. Okay, I've got a whole course on this if you're interested. It teaches you how to be a leader. Whenever I get hired by someone and the first thing they say is, I know it's me, I need help. I'm like, oh God, that's half the battle right there. They're the ones who get the best results because they're not blaming their kids, they're blaming themselves. You should always blame yourself, not your kids, always. When I was mentoring kids, troubled teens, and if they did something that was out of line, I always did this. I said, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? And I was just their mentor. Like, I just worked with them maybe 1 or 2 hours a week. I always blame myself, always. Why would you blame kids? They're innocent victims of us, right? That's the way I look at it. They're innocent victims of us, good or bad. Never do timeout. Hate timeout. No, I hate them. I think they're mean. What if you did something wrong at work and your boss said, you go sit in a corner for 10 minutes? Wouldn't it be humiliating? How would you feel about yourself? Think about it. Kids, exact same with kids. I think it's mean. I think it's humiliating and mean and degrading. I hate them. I hate timeout. At what age do kids learn sharing? That is 3. That doesn't mean that out of the kindness of their heart they want to share. They just understand if they don't, they might get in trouble. They learn through consequences. They can start to reason things out. So it's about 3 that they really start to get it. 3 3/4 is when they get empathy, or no, when they're capable of having empathy. That's when they understand, oh, other people have feelings too. Yeah, it's 3 3/4. I know professionals used to argue with me years and years ago, and no, it's not. It's 5 years old. No, it's not. It's 2. And I always said, no, it's 3 years and 9 months. That's when they really turn into little humans and they can start to have empathy for other people. Now they're saying, I read about a year ago, I looked it up again. I haven't looked it up in decades probably. And now they're saying 3 years and 3 3/4 is what they say. That's when I always saw it with kids. 3 3/4, they can start to show empathy. They won't all do it, but they are capable of it. Yeah. Do you have different practices for autistic toddlers, preschoolers? Yeah, autism's different. It's a spectrum, and plus they're all different too. Like, each autistic child is different on the spectrum, and they all react differently. So that's strictly coaching. That's a specialty. I do deal with it, but it's in coaching only, one-on-one and on Zoom. That's what coaching is done. And all we do in that first session is throw mud at the wall. The next session, we see what stuck. So we say, what did work, what didn't work, and we're going to find a way. Yeah. But, all I teach here is parent-child relationships. I'm not an autism specialist or anything. You have to have other people for that, right? But parent-child relationships is what I teach. So lots of my clients have had kids with autism. Okay, my 2-year-old throws crazy tantrums when she doesn't get what she wants. Oh, I'm going to go into my little speech here. My I just did a video yesterday on this, so you might want to look that up, and I'll tell you what it is right now. There's 5 steps to making your life easier with toddlers. One is childproof your house, so you never have to say no. There was nothing in my house below the waist that the kids couldn't get into. Plus, they weren't precocious at home, so they weren't precocious when we went out either. So it was wonderful. I never had to say no. I actually have friends who said, oh my God, they were brushing their teeth with the toilet brush again. I'm like, what on earth is a toddler doing with access to a toilet brush? Like, I just thought that was insane. Well, we want them to learn how not to touch stuff. I don't want my kids brushing their teeth with a toilet brush. Anyway, so childproof your home, get a toy rotation system going so they're never bored. You rotate their toys around once a week, once a month, whatever. And then enter their world when you're playing with them. When you're playing with a toddler, get down on their level and find your inner toddler, okay? Because the more you connect with them on their level, they just look at you differently. They're listening to you more. They're watching you more because they see you more as you're more relatable. And then there's 2 more. Stop trying to figure them out. They haven't formed yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. If they're only 2 years old, they've only been in this world for 2 years. The first year, they were a potato laying on a mattress. I mean, come on. They don't have context about the world. They have no common sense because they haven't got sense yet. They're just developing. They're brand new, fresh human beings, 1 marble and some tumbleweed, okay? And the last one is stop talking and take action instead. I know it's really trendy right now, and I don't look at it, but my parents tell me all the time, my clients, is this pleaser parent style that's so popular right now. Let's discuss your big feelings. It's just garbage. They're about action, not words. You're trying to ask them to find their inner adult. Every single time you want to have a mini therapy session with a 2-year-old, you're asking them to find their inner adult, which they do not have. It's very condescending and patronizing. So you find your inner child because they're all about actions. So their inner toddler, their inner child are about actions. So you take action because every time you want to discipline a toddler, it's consistent, corrective actions because they learn through repetition, not words. Anyway, that's it. 5 steps to making life easier with a toddler. I had 3, then I had 4, and then I added the 5th. Who knows how many I'll have? That's funny. Every time I'm hired by a family who has older kids and toddlers, they never ask me anything about the toddlers. Nothing. They go, yeah, toddlers are crazy. They understand. Don't try and figure them out. They're just forming. My lips are all chapped right now. Sorry. I used to get all organic, holistic products, and then COVID hit. Now I'm back to this Nivea. I just love this lip balm. Okay, let me see here. Well, anytime you ask about tantrums, thanks for the cowboy hat. Anytime you ask about tantrums, just look at all the videos I've got on that. I got millions of videos on tantrums. I also have a mini course just for toddler tantrums. It's up in the Bratbusters link above if you're interested. It goes into great detail. You just ignore tantrums. Don't give them any weight whatsoever, but don't walk away. Don't talk to someone. Don't look at your phone. You just stand there filing your nails. It's important that they see you ignoring them. It's important that they know they know they're doing that. Does that make any sense? But that you're ignoring it. Because trying to talk to a kid anyway. I don't have the energy. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to go into why you don't ignore a tantrum. It's so important to ignore it. Should I tell the mole story? You've all heard it before a million times. Just kind of explains why you ignore tantrums. Anyway. Oh no, the swing story is better for that. Anyway, if anyone's interested, if you know what it is and you think I should tell it, just tell me. Okay. Toddler makes messes but refuses to clean it. Right. What's your question? I don't understand that. Yeah, why would a toddler clean up a mess? My 1-year-old smashes his head on things when he gets mad. Yeah, put a helmet on him or just restrain him. You're in charge of his physical safety. He's just 1. He doesn't understand concussions or brain damage, so it's your responsibility to keep his head in one piece. Either put a foam helmet on him. Lots of my clients have done that. And they say, yeah, it worked. And they hated having it on. And they knew that they just learned that if they stop banging their head, that helmet will stay off. Yeah, you just have to ride it out. They're just crazy when they're little. They're going to try. They might even smear poop on the wall. And to them, that's completely normal. You said, I've tried that, but it just carries on and gets worse. You mean ignoring tantrums? Right. They're going to up it and they're going to fight back. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Usually, if they have history with you, not ignoring it. Because they know, hey, the old you wasn't like this. I'm going to get the old you back. I'm going to up it. I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to keep screaming and kicking and worse and worse and worse. I'll get the old you back. I'll be in charge. That's what they're saying to you. You got to stop reacting to their bad behavior. That's on them. That's none of your business. Like if they're having a tantrum, that's none of your business. That's their brain processing this. You can't get into their brain with a screwdriver and fix it up. You have to let them process that. The more you interrupt that process, the longer it's going to take. Tell it plays the swing story. Yeah, the swing story is a really good one about ignoring tantrums. It's my favorite story for that. I've got two stories, but the swing story is the best one. Okay, my son was 2 years old. It was just me and him walking down to the park, and we get there. There's another mom. She's got a 2-year-old little boy. There's 2 little boys, 2 moms, 2 swings, and 2 benches. So there's no one else at the park. So I'd seen her around. She was brand new in the neighborhood. So I'm just saying hi. We're chatting. We're both putting our little boys in the swings as we're introducing ourselves and chatting. They both went, They wanted the other swing. So we're like, no, let's just switch them. Who cares, right? We're chatting. They both started having tantrums at the exact same time. Like they're just crazy, right? So we both took our individual boys off to the benches, and she's over there dealing with hers, and mine tries to run back for the swing. I put my arm out, and I just sat there ignoring him, looking at the birds up in the tree, looking around. About 2 minutes later, he wanted to get back on that swing. Now, he knew me by this time. He knew that the sooner he stops this tantrum, the sooner he's going to get back on the swing. So about 2 minutes into screaming and all that, then he stops, and I said, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go back on the swing. So he goes back on the swing. He's having a grand time. So the other mom, she's talking to him, trying to hug him, trying to tell him why he can't go back on the swing, why he's sitting on he's getting worse. She's feeding it, right? She's like, here we go. Let's make it worse and worse and worse. Tension is tantrum food. So it's building and building. And it's going on and on and on. Finally, about 20 minutes later, he stops. He has the hiccup cries. Then what does she do? What does she do then? She starts having a therapy session with him. Now, you know the reason why you did that. If you do it, you could have been back on the swing earlier if you hadn't had a tantrum. She's giving him a therapy session. He's 2 years old. Another 10 minutes of that. So anyway, then my kid was tired. So we walk home, and her kid and her are just an absolute mess. I don't even know if they went on the swing at that point. Now, which one would you rather be? This poor kid, she was raking him through the coals, dragging him. And finally, when he finished having a tantrum that she continually feeding it with attention, then she rakes him through the coals, discussing the whole scene, the therapy session. What a bunch of garbage. Anyway, does that make sense? My kid knew. I'm modeling calm behavior. He knew me. He knew that I do not give any attention to crazy, but I reward calm. As soon as he's done, I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. They just outgrow them when you learn how to do this. They just stop doing them because they're ridiculous. It's just craziness, right? So anyway, as soon as he stops, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go back on the swing. Like that. And then happy as anything. Does that make sense? Well, I just explained 20 straight minutes. He's having a tantrum. As soon as that kid started having the hiccup cries, oh, y'all done? Want to go back on the swing? That's what I would have done. I think the longest a tantrum ever went on, and I warned the parent about this. And anyway, it was like 4 or 5 hours. This kid had thrown up. He was older, though. He was like 5 or 6. And these parents had just given in to everything he said. He was totally in charge. He was being kicked out of school. That's why they hired me. He'd already been kicked out of 1 or 2 schools. He was only grade 1 or 2. Like, he was a real problem. And I said to the parents, it's going to be absolute hell. Are you ready for it? And I said, the next time he has a tantrum to get his own way, ignore it. 4 or 5 hours it went on for. And he never had another one. The parents never gave into it. 4 or 5 hours of absolute hell. And then he never had another one. Isn't that amazing? Think about it. They learned how to ignore the crazy and reward. As soon as he was done, they didn't discuss. And I said, do not discuss it. As soon as he's done, oh, you want to go to the park? You want to read a book? Think about that. Why did that work? Because they finally learned to ignore the tantrum. Finally, he could have even been 7. Anyway, he'd already been kicked out of a couple schools. I've been using your technique with my sons, and it works. Yeah, it just does. It just does. I'm never, you'll never hear me talk about something with such an opinion as parenting and sewing. I love sewing, although I'm not that opinionated about it. I just love it. But I have the courage of my convictions with this because I've been working with kids for 51 years. I get this works with all of them. All of them. It's just giving respect to get it. You deal with bad behavior like that, and then you focus on the good kid. Bring out the good in the kid. Make them feel good about themselves. When they feel good about themselves and you're the cause of that, holy moly, they'll do anything for you. And they certainly won't backtalk you. Oh, do you ignore destructive behavior like kicking doors and walls during a tantrum? No, I don't. It depends on the age. If you can't, you physically restrain them. If they're having a tantrum and they're doing that, you physically restrain them. You say no kicking the door, whatever. Physically restrain them. As soon as they start to calm down, let them go, see what happens, grab them again. You have to keep doing that. Anyway, but if they're 9 and you can't do that, you've built up to that. You've sort of trained them to do that as they get older and more powerful and bigger. You don't interrupt it. You're going to have to lose a few doors and get a few holes in the walls. There's other things that we do about that. But that's sort of next level if they're that old and doing that. Geez, I block you. Well, block me again. I don't know why people have to tell, as if I care what you think of me. Like I'm here to serve my audience, not my non-audience. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not for everybody, and I don't plan on it. Okay. I talk about this a lot. When I first came on TikTok, I blew up overnight, like really fast. And I'm talking about this now because I think this is hilarious. Just strikes me as funny because bullying to me is just, I love karma. I love it when people get what they deserve. Anyway, my competition, I don't know any of them. This is what other people have told me. My competition blew up my channel because they were doing duets, insulting me, saying I was damaging and I'm horrible. Well, of course, I'd get thousands of followers every time they do that. They blew up my channel. They had no idea they were doing that. The only reason I'm talking about that now is because they've figured it out. I think they finally clued into what they were doing. And but now they don't do it anymore. So that's why I'm talking about it. But I'm eternally grateful for everyone who hates me on here. Because every time someone goes off and hates me, then people check me out and then I get thousands of more followers. Anyway, that's karma. Be good to people. Be nice to people. Because when you're nasty, eventually it'll bite you in the butt. So anyway, I just thought that was so funny. Yeah, let people hate because haters they're really important to the message because for many, many reasons. Haters, like I've never been bullied. It doesn't bother me at all. I've got leather skin that way. And because I don't like everybody, so I don't expect everyone to like me. It's usually mutual. If someone hates you, you usually hate them too. So it doesn't mean anything to me. You either connect with people or you don't. Okay. And that's just the way life is. I'm older now. I get that. And I've always kind of been like that. But yeah, it just doesn't bother me. But if people hate you, you're making a difference. They don't waste any time hating you on here unless you're shaking them up. So you're making a difference. And even though they hate your guts and they're saying horrible things about you, the way I interpret that is, oh, I'm making a difference in your life. You know what I mean? You're shaking them up. You're making them think. So that's a good thing. I see it all as positive. Oh, don't be mean. Don't be mean. Because then you're feeding it. Yeah, don't. Just, it's okay. It's okay. Uh, You know, I'm old. I mean, I'm in my 60s now. And I can remember I was really young. And people used to ask me this. They said, how come you can walk into a group of strangers and you're confident? And I was young when this was happening. And I said, and my mom taught me this. And it's just so wise. And the way I look at it is every time I enter a room full of strangers or wherever I go, my first thought is, I hope I like someone here. I would never cross my mind to think, I hope they like me. Do you know why? Because you're either going to connect with people or you're not. I don't expect everyone to like me because I don't like everyone. Usually if someone hates you, it's usually mutual. It's just something about that person. It's usually mutual, right? So just focus on being you, and then hopefully you'll meet other people that you connect with. It's chemistry, connection. So don't worry about the haters because they got their own people they're gonna like. But it's when they put energy towards the hate, that's when you're shaking them up, right? Like if someone doesn't like me, I don't care. Like I probably wouldn't like them either. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I wouldn't hate them. So that hate means something, they're getting under your skin. So every time someone hates me, I think I'm making a difference in their life. They don't know it, but I am. Sure they hate that even more, but that's okay. You know where I learned all this stuff is kids. Kids have taught me all this. If the reason why you can learn more through, especially troubled teenagers, they're very damaged, they're very fragile, they're very raw, and they're going to tell you everything that they don't like about you, and they're very good at picking your weaknesses. They can find a scab and pick at it. Like they're just brilliant at that. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how to be tough and how to bring them onto the good side too. But yeah, it's all with this positive energy. If that had bothered me, I wouldn't have been able to work with them. Whereas I'm like, yeah, I'm getting under their skin. I'm making a difference. So, and then I eventually got close to them. But anyway, so yeah, it's kids will teach you so much about yourself, especially teenagers. I failed today. I told my kid, next time you do that, there will be a consequence. Laugh it off. What what Santa is referring to is when you say to a kid, they do something bad, and you say, next time you do that, there's going to be a consequence. What you should have said was, you did that, here's the consequence. You never give them a freebie. The reason is that you're telling them it's okay to kick the dog in the short term and only once, but not again. So yeah, you don't ever let that go. But yeah, just laugh it off. My clients make mistakes all the time, and they say, you won't believe what I did. And I said, okay, let's have a laugh over it and then move on. Like, it's part of it, right? The road to success is paved with failures. If you're not failing, you're not trying, you're not learning, you're not striving enough. I keep telling myself every time I fail at something, I go, oh, I'm learning. But yeah, it's an opportunity to learn. If you're not pushing out of your comfort zone and trying new things and laughing at your mistakes, you're not growing. So yeah, just laugh it off. I do that often. My clients are telling me something really stupid that they did, and I'll be laughing. They'll go, why are you laughing at me? Because everyone goes through this. This is part of learning. It's part of it. Laugh it off. And they eventually get it. No judgment here. It's all, we're all learning, right? This is just my area. This is just my area of expertise. You should see me with some stuff. Oh God, I'm horrible at a lot of things in life. This is easy for me. That's why I teach it, right? But yeah, a whole bunch of stuff I struggle with. And the people have to say the same things to me, because I'll say, oh, I don't want to fail at that. And they'll go, what do you say in your business? And never mind. Okay, can I get a Zoom session, please? Just go in the, I don't do free consultations anymore. But if you want to talk to me one-on-one, you have to set up a session. That is in the link above, bratbusters.linktree. Timeout. Yeah, you must be new on here. You must have just joined. I hate timeout. Can't stand it. Never taught it, never will, never did it, never will, hate it. Timeout to me is humiliating. It's like, you're not even worth talking to. Go sit in the corner, nose to wall. Can you imagine if your boss did that to you at work? It's humiliating. Kids feel the same way. Okay. I don't understand. Sometimes a lot of times people's English is a second language. So that's why they phrase things and I just don't always pick up on what you're saying. I mean, I can barely speak one language. I can't imagine having 2 or 3 languages. I had someone on here yesterday, I think they said they can speak 5 or 7 languages or something. I can't, my mind cannot go there. I just find that boggling. Crystal, I already answered you. Are you repeating the question? Because I've already answered that. Okay. 3-year-old talking back. That is the attitude that I never address. I never address attitude. Their attitude is a tell. It means that you're not a leader. It just says that they don't respect you. So work on your leadership skills, and they just don't talk back to you. When you're a leader, they just don't. It would be embarrassing for them because they look up to you. They want to please you. When you're a good leader, they just want to please you. So yeah, they just don't talk back. They just don't. Yeah. So work on your leadership skills. I have a whole course on that if you're interested. It's in the Bratbusters link above. It's 5 weeks. Do not rush through that 5-week course. I know people have done that. I know someone emailed me and said, I did exactly what you said not to do. I went right to week 4. And they said, failed miserably. And I went, yeah, I know. You got to pace it out over 5 weeks. You can stretch it out, but do not shorten that 5-week course. I've paced that out. I've been teaching this now for 17 years. I've paced it out exactly how it has to be paced. Okay. Okay. Why? Oh, yeah. The reason why I didn't want to answer you again, Crystal, is it's such a snotty answer, but you need to hear it. 4-year-old keeps getting kicked out of daycare because of his behavior. I'm worried about him starting school. And it's a snotty behavior, but you need to hear this. I'm going to rephrase your question. My 4-year-old keeps getting kicked out of daycare because I'm not a leader. Okay? Their behavior at 4 years old especially is 100% a direct result of your parenting or your lack of leadership. It just is. That what they say and what they do is on you. And you want that because you can only control you anyway. It's a tell. It tells me they don't respect you and they don't respect if they don't respect you, they don't respect other people either. Okay, so that's why he's getting kicked out of school is you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. This is what I do all the time. The clients who get the quickest results when in coaching is the ones who start in the first session. I know it's all me. I need fixing. They don't blame their kids. They blame themselves. When I was working with kids and they acted out, now keep in mind, I mentored troubled teens too. And whenever a kid would act out, I always took the blame. I'm like, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? I'm not a good enough leader. And these were kids I worked with 1 hour a week, maybe 2. So I always took the blame. But when they started getting better, I took the accolades too. Right? So yeah, I took the accolades too. Geez, so much better since he's been working with you. Yeah, okay. So you can take the blame. Take the blame when you're starting out, and then later you can take the accolades. So it's all you. It just is. Children desperately, instinctively need, crave, and want leadership. They just do. It's a need. It's just an instinct. They need a leader. If you're not providing it, they are lost. They're going to take over. They're going to be kicked out of school. They're going to be susceptible to peer pressure, bullying. They may be the bully. They may be the victim, but it'll become part of their life if they have no leader at home. They're going to be susceptible to the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're so vulnerable out there in the world if you're not a leader. When you're a leader, they're not. You can send them out in the world and not worry about them because they've got a leader at home. They're going to tell everything to you right through the teen years. So there's just such power in leadership. It's wonderful. And then you don't even have to discipline. Like, it's just, why would, like my kids never would have asked me for something if they knew the answer was no. And they would have never questioned a no. But if I did something wrong that they didn't like, they were very quick to tell me, Mom, I didn't like when you did that the other day. And I go, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, what do you want? So I always made amends. What do you want? So it was mutual. I was also accountable. That's what makes it work. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. There's 2 very distinct parenting styles. The new trendy pleaser parent that's out right now, that's a one-way street. The kids are in charge. The old-fashioned authority, that's a one-way street. The parents were in charge. Neither one is great. I like the two-way street. You're both respect each other. It's give and take. Okay, I gotta go. My voice is starting to go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow, but the link above has everything I have to offer. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. Otherwise, I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye now.